Planning the move to off-grid living can be intimidating, with so many things to learn and navigate. To help ease that transition for you, today we're talking about 5 important things to consider before moving off-grid. Land, energy consumption and energy source, water supply and storage, wastewater management, heating and cooking. There are 4 things to consider when purchasing and setting up land: sun exposure, on-site water sources, soil quality and local council regulations. If you're going off-grid, you're probably going solar, so you want to make sure that you have enough sun exposure and unobstructed space for your solar panels to work most efficiently. You want to look at how much sun your area gets, as not all places in New Zealand are the same. You also need to be aware of any geographic features that might affect this, such as hills and really dense areas of trees. Essentially, you need to be aware of anything that's going to cast shadows on your panels so that you can either remove the obstruction or move your panels to suit. Moving on to water source, having an accessible stream, pond or other body of water will be hugely beneficial, both for personal use and if you have to take care of any stock. It's also incredibly helpful in the early days to supplement rainwater collection before you've got that set up. Thirdly, soil quality. Ideally, most of your fruits and vegetables are going to be grown by you on your land. And because the soil types across the country vary a lot, you might find that what you want to grow is not what you can grow. So knowing what soil you have will reduce the stress and the frustration of planting things that aren't going to thrive. Finally, local council regulations. They differ across the country, so knowing what applies to your area will hopefully save you a lot of grief down the track if the council ever comes calling. Keep this in mind as well when you're getting advice from people outside of your local area, because it can vary so wildly. You can find all of this information online usually, or make an appointment and visit your local council to get the information straight from the source. Energy consumption and energy source. One big thing for a lot of people is power usage. Going off the grid isn't always an idealistic choice like you might think. A lot of the times it's just impractical to connect to the grid because it's really expensive or you're really far away from the road. This means that a lot of people end up going solar, and this can have a pretty big learning curve for some people if they've never experienced it before. There are a few staple appliances from a grid-connected household that aren't very energy efficient, so it's not sustainable to bring them over to an off-grid household. These are things like your oven, hot water cylinders, and heaters. We've got more info on that and some other articles that I'll link for you up here or down below. Living off-grid is about being conscious of how you use power and finding alternatives so you can save power for where it's needed most and save your wallet at the same time. Finding these alternatives now will save you a lot of trouble down the line so you don't have to change around your planning halfway through. Water supply and storage. You'll need water for cooking, drinking, gardening and showering, so it should be high on your list of things to think about. Sources include rainwater, streams and even bores. You also need to think about how you store it. The most accessible water supply for most off-gridders is rainwater harvesting. It's as simple as setting up something to catch water, funneling it into a tank, and letting the wet weather do its thing. Many off-gridders will then set up some sort of filter just to clean that water out a little bit. If this is going to be your only source of water, you want to think about what you're going to do before you set it up, just to save you that hassle down the road. So what your guttering is going to be like, what roofs you're going to use to collect it, and where you're going to store it. If you are lucky enough to have a large body of water or even a stream running through your property, this is an extremely valuable asset. Through either a gravity-fed system or just a regular water pump, you can extract water from these natural sources and use it in your everyday life. Another option for water source is digging a well. It is the least common option that we see out there because it can be time-consuming, expensive, and you need the right geological conditions to make it work. But if you can, it can be a really great supply of water. Whatever your water source is, the more important thing is storage. The bigger the better. The average New Zealander uses around 200 litres of water a day or 1,400 litres a week. This accounts for hygiene, cooking and drinking, so it will differ a little bit off-grid. It's important to store enough water to get you through 2 weeks without water supply while you're living off-grid full-time. A popular solution is 2 25,000 litre tanks on top of a hill, fed by a solar pump, so you can use a gravity-fed system to provide water for your living area. While not essential, this will save energy usage from on-demand pumps. Wastewater management. If done diligently, wastewater can be managed in a sustainable way to repurpose it into compost, fertilizer, and water for plants. There are 2 types of wastewater, grey and black. Grey water is the cleaner type of water that comes from showers, sinks and washing machines, and many off-gridders opt to direct the water out into the garden or back into the toilet after a reasonable amount of filtering. Black water comes from the toilet and is often sent into a septic system used for creating biogas, or filtered into solids and liquids and used to create compost. The most common form of waste management is the composting toilet. It might sound a bit unpleasant, but it's one of the easiest and most cost-effective ways to do it. Plus, once you separate the solids and liquids, the sewage smell is greatly decreased. I'll link an article that talks a little bit more about that up here and down here. Heating and cooking. Since it's not cost-effective to be cooking or heating on solar electricity, you'll need to decide what alternatives you want to use for these. Using LPG or biogas is a very common choice for most off-gridders because it's cheap to set up, effective and reliable. Typically that means a calefont, which is an instant water heater, and a gas oven, hob or barbecue. Wetbacks can take a while to heat, making them a great option if you're running the fire all day, but it can be a bit impractical if you're not. A wood burner for warmth with LPG for cooking and water heating is by far the most common combination that we see. Diesel heaters are commonly praised on our Facebook group, with many off-gridders believing them to be the best option for home heating. They can be bought cheaply and installed quickly, making them a great method for heating without hurting your wallet. That's a lot to think about, I know, but don't worry, we've got way more information on that on our blog, and I'll link all of that as well as our kits below in the description for you.